Discover the amazing transformation of a life-changed doormat, revealed hidden strengths. In the small, picturesque town of Willow Creek, life moved at a gentle pace, but for Linda, each day was a whirlwind. The sunlight filtered through her worn-out curtains, casting a soft glow on the doormat that lay by her front door. It was frayed, stained, and faded, a canvas of memories that had soaked up shoes of every shape and size. This doormat was more than just a piece of fabric. It was a testament to resilience, a symbol of the struggle and victories of Linda, a hard-working single mother in her late 30s, and her spirited teenage daughter, Emma. Linda carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. She worked 2 jobs, rising before dawn to stock shelves at the grocery store, only to return at night to serve customers at the diner. Her days were a blur of relentless motion, punctuated by the moments she spent laughing and crying with Emma. Despite their efforts, the town's economic inequality felt like a heavy shroud, dragging them down, hiding their bright flames under a cloak of invisibility. The town announced plans for a renovation of Main Street, a glimmer of hope sparking in Linda's heart. She could tell their story, their journey, and for the first time, perhaps, she could weave together the fabric of their lives into something beautiful. Inspired by Emma's unyielding belief in their dreams, she envisioned a community storytelling event, an opportunity to celebrate the shared experiences of Willow Creek residents, to stand proud amidst the whispers of derision she had often felt. As preparations unfolded, the doormat became her emblem of strength. Every stain and tear told a tale of laughter shared and hardships endured. It reminded Linda that their story mattered. But when she stepped forward, offering to share her family's journey, the skeptical glances from others pierced her heart. What if they continued to see her as invisible? She battled these feelings, yearning for recognition but terrified of rejection. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The night of the event arrived, a cool breeze swirling through the crowd gathered in the town square. Linda's heart raced as she stood before her neighbors, her voice quivering. She began slowly, sharing the story of the doormat, every footprint, every drop of joy and sorrow that had weathered time. But just as her words began to ignite connections, a pointed interruption sent ripples through the audience. The tension thickened, a voice questioning her worthiness to share, echoing the skepticism that had shadowed her journey. Caught off guard, Linda felt her chest tighten. The murmurs washed over her like a crashing wave, her resolve wavering. How could she bridge this divide? Could she confront the doubts that stung fiercely in her heart? Unfinished thoughts hovered in the air, giving weight to her struggle. As the crowd waited, breath held in anticipation, the question lingered. Could she reclaim the dignity of their narrative, or would she remain just another overlooked story, like the worn doormat lying at her feet? Linda took a deep breath, feeling the cool air rush through her lungs. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. All she could hear were the whispers echoing in her mind, doubts and fears wrapping around her like a thick fog. What made her story worth telling? Would anyone really care about a worn-out doormat or the life of a struggling single mother? But just as despair threatened to drown her, she felt a warm presence beside her. Emma had made her way to the front of the crowd, her bright eyes shining with encouragement. It was the look of unwavering support that a daughter can give, a reminder of the bond they shared. Linda's heartbeat slowed, grounding her in that moment. She looked out at the faces in front of her, and just for a second, they seemed less intimidating. She cleared her throat, channeling the strength she drew from Emma. "This doormat has seen more than just dirt and mud," she began, her voice growing stronger with each word. "It's a witness to a life filled with love and struggle." Her story began to flow like a river, each memory surfacing with the waves of emotion. She shared the late nights spent together, their laughter echoing in their tiny home. She painted pictures of resilience, of navigating the tough waters of life, and the dreams they forged together in the face of adversity. As she spoke, she could see some of the skeptics starting to lean in, their expressions shifting from doubt to curiosity. The murmurs receded, replaced by an unspoken understanding between her and the crowd. She spoke of hope, of community, and the beauty of shared stories. With every word, the heavy weight of isolation began to lift, and she could feel the doormat's spirit rising with her. Somewhere in the back, an older woman nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. Linda recognized her as Mrs. Jensen, the town's retired librarian, a woman whose own story was filled with loss yet brimming with wisdom. In that instant, Linda knew she wasn't alone. The audience's initial skepticism transformed, faces softened, hearts opened. At the end of her tale, she looked once more at Emma, who beamed with pride. This mat may be old and stained, but it's a part of our life, a reminder that every mark tells a story worth sharing. The crowd erupted in applause, and it felt as if the very fabric of the town was now woven tighter in understanding and love. But before she could bask in the warmth of acceptance, a man stepped forward, his face taut. "You speak of connection," he said, voice booming. "But what about those of us who've lost? Do we get to share too?" Linda's heart sank. What had begun as uplifting suddenly felt precarious again. Was she about to open a floodgate of raw emotion that could bring the very real pain of the town crashing down? There it was, the flicker of uncertainty. She could either shrink back or invite them into deeper conversations extended around grief and solidarity. The choice lay in her hands. As the crowd held its collective breath, waiting for her answer, she realized this moment was more than just her story. It was about everyone through the door of their lives. Would she step beyond her own narrative and embrace theirs? Would the doormat's strength give her the courage to hold space for others? Linda felt the weight of the moment charged and electric. The crowd was a tapestry of emotions, faces revealing curiosity, sorrow, and hope. "Yes," she answered finally, her voice steadier now. "Everyone deserves to share their story." She could see the man relax slightly, but doubt still shadowed his eyes. Time felt suspended, and Linda realized that her journey was no longer alone. It was now intertwined with the lives surrounding her. She took a step forward, inviting others to walk with her into the shared grief that often lay hidden beneath the surface. "Loss is a part of life," she continued, her heart racing. "We all have our battles. Your hurt, your struggles, they matter just as much." A ripple of recognition spread through the crowd. Heads nodded. She could see the hesitation begin to fade as vulnerability took over. Linda glanced at Emma, who stood beside her, holding onto the edge of her mother's scarf. Emma's eyes glimmered with an understanding far beyond her years. This was a moment to extend compassion, to connect with the raw truths lurking in the corners of their lives. "If we allow ourselves to open up," Linda said, "we can create a space where everyone can be heard. When we share our stories, we lighten the burden for each other." She felt herself getting lost in emotion, the words pouring out, fueled by every hardship she had overcome. Just like this doormat is stained, we're all marked by our experiences. Each mark tells a story, but it doesn't define us. It connects us to one another. The murmurs of encouragement began again, and she saw something shift, a burning eagerness to engage. "Please, let us start a conversation," she urged, glancing at the man who had first spoken. "What have you lost?" There was a moment of silence before he took a step forward, a breath held tight. "I lost my wife last year. We had plans, dreams. All of it slipped away." His hands trembled slightly by his sides. "And I don't know how to carry that weight. I want to talk, but sometimes it feels like I'd just be burdening everyone." His voice cracked, and with it, the dam broke. A woman from the side stepped forward. "I lost my son," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand how heavy that burden feels, carrying it alone." The crowd was falling into a rhythm of stories, each word released from their hearts met with empathy and understanding. Linda felt herself moving from the front, closer to the center, where she could listen. The walls they had built crumbled with every shared tale. As the darkness seeped out moment by moment, the crowd began having their own conversations, voices rising and intertwining like threads in a fabric. Linda watched as Emma joined groups, helping guide the emotions gently while mingling through the crowd with grace. A rush of warmth filled Linda's chest. They were no longer strangers, they were companions in grief, seeking solace and connection in their shared humanity. But deep down, another question loomed. How would their newfound voices reach those who isolated themselves? The town was big, and not everyone had stepped through those doors. Linda's heart raced. There was more work to be done. She took in the faces around her, some tearful, some hopeful, and let out a quiet promise. This is just the beginning. In that very moment, an idea sparked in her mind. What if she organized a gathering, a sharing circle for all those who felt lost? The thought filled her with excitement and trepidation. Could she bring them all together again? As those questions bubbled beneath the surface, an astonishing realization filled her heart. What would it take to inspire the entire community to open up? What stories were waiting just beyond the doormat? Linda woke the next day with a sense of urgency buzzing in her chest. The sun streamed through her window, but it didn't bring the warmth she longed for. Instead, it illuminated the tasks she had to accomplish. What had started as a simple gathering was unfolding into something bigger, something that could truly transform their community. She glanced at Emma, who still slept soundly, clutching the scarf. Linda felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Emma had become a beacon of hope, a reminder of what they were working toward. She grabbed her phone, looking at a blank notepad. Community gathering, share your story. That was the title she needed. It was simple and direct, just like the urgency she felt today. As she walked to the kitchen, she started to consider how to spread the word. There were community boards, social media groups, and church announcements she could use. But would that be enough? She needed to think beyond her immediate circle. How could she reach people who were still hiding behind their closed doors, shrouded in their own silence? With a cup of coffee in hand, Linda pulled out an old, scrappy notebook. The pages were filled with jotted thoughts and sketches from years past. A dreamer's journal, she thought. Flipping through it felt like sifting through forgotten memories. You know, she whispered to herself, maybe some of this could help. Ideas bounced around her mind, creating a whirlwind of excitement. What if they used the park? It was an open space where anyone could come, a place where stories could flow as freely as the breeze. But what about the logistics? Tables, chairs, maybe some snacks. She could ask local businesses to pitch in sponsorships for hope. She laughed, picturing them coming together for a purpose. But then a shadow crept in. What if no one showed? Doubt flickered, but she shook it off. This wasn't just about her, it was about them. The stories that would come to life, the connections waiting to happen. All right, let us make a plan, she said aloud, tapping her finger against the countertop. While excitement coursed through her veins, a deeper determination took hold. That night, she would reach out to people from the gathering. It was time to rally the community, to find every soul who had felt the weight of isolation. Later that evening, with Emma beside her, they began crafting messages. Linda typed, and Emma painted little hearts and sunshines on the paper. Each flyer became a tiny invitation brimming with warmth, an open hand ready to welcome those who needed it. Words flowed easily. Share your story. Connect, heal, and renew. You are not alone. As she prepared the text for an online post, Linda felt a sense of purpose washing over her. What if those simple words could ignite a fire? Maybe it would inspire others to speak, to let their burdens lift just a tad. People have to see this, Linda said, a spark of hope igniting within her. She hit send and then held her breath, waiting for something, anything to happen. Emma leaned in, pulling Linda's arm gently. Do you think they'll come? She whispered, her voice heavy with innocence. Linda looked into her daughter's eyes and saw a flicker of doubt they both shared. I don't know, sweet girl, but we'll be there. Together. As they stepped back to admire the growing pile of flyers, a sense of belonging settled over them. Inspired by the unforeseen bravery of their gathering, they were creating a ripple effect. But in that very moment, as her heart warmed with a resilient spark, something inside her started to unravel. What if this gathering opened wounds deeper than she had imagined? The thought lingered, raw and perfect, as she glimpsed the winding road ahead. What transformations awaited those who dared to share? How could a simple gathering reshape not only their hearts, but their entire community? Linda's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, pulling her from her thoughts. She reached for it, fingers trembling slightly, with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. There it was, a notification. Someone had reacted to the post. It was a small spark, but it felt electric. "Look, Emma," she called, unable to hide her excitement. The little girl, still diligent with her craft, turned her head, her big eyes lighting up at the vibration of hope. "Who said what?" she asked, bouncing slightly on her toes. "It's just a like," Linda admitted, but the thrill in her voice betrayed her words. "But it's something." They decided to head outside, the air filled with the smell of freshly cut grass and the distant sounds of kids playing. Sitting together on the porch, Linda couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. She could almost sense it, like rain in the air, heavy with possibility. The next day, they distributed the flyers around town. Linda felt as if she were a seamstress, weaving connections with each one she stapled and taped. The local coffee shop welcomed her, and in exchange for a few flyers, she promised to bring in more patrons with the gathering. The owner, an older man named Frank, gave her a kind nod. "People love to talk," he said, "especially over coffee." Later that afternoon, they ventured into the park, pinpointing areas for seating and refreshments. Linda envisioned colorful banners fluttering in the wind, a vibrant backdrop for the stories waiting to be shared. Each step they took seemed to echo with excitement until a thought pierced the joy. What if it was all for nothing? But she shook her head, forcing those doubts into the back of her mind. She couldn't dwell on fears that hadn't happened yet. She needed that unwavering smile she wore around Emma. The weather felt almost too perfect for late spring, and the sun dipped low, casting shadows that danced across their chosen clearing. It was beautiful and peaceful. But deep down, a weight remained in her heart, flickering with uncertainty about the vulnerability this gathering would invite. Stories bore power, but also pain. Returning home, Linda discovered a message from a local Mom-S group online. A woman named Sarah reached out, expressing interest and excitement. "I've been looking for a way to connect. My daughter is struggling, and I feel like I'm alone in this." A warmth spread in Linda's chest as she realized her words were indeed resonating. The fear now seemed more bearable. They were not just flyers and plans. They were hope wrapped tightly in the fabric of shared experiences. As the week went on, more messages trickled in, and with each one, her resolve grew. Linda found herself responding late at night, fueled by coffee and a new sense of purpose. But underneath this excitement, the thought nagged at her. Would they really show up? Would they feel safe enough to open their hearts with raw honesty? On the night before the gathering, she sat on the edge of Emma's bed, their cozy sanctuary filled with twinkling fairy lights. Emma was busy arranging her stuffed animals, and Linda watched her, studying the small crinkles of concentration on her daughter's forehead. "Do you think they will come, Mom?" she asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Linda squeezed her hand, holding it tightly. "I think they might, Pumpkin. But if they don't, we'll still have each other. That matters, doesn't it?" The girl nodded solemnly, and a smile threatened to break free. Linda's heart swelled with love. That evening, as they readied everything for the next day, Linda sensed the anticipation hovering in the air around her. She felt the world on the brink of change, and it instilled both excitement and apprehension in equal measure. What revelations lay in store for them all? And why did she have this stinging feeling that the gathering might reveal more than they were ready for? With the lanterns lit, she stepped outside to breathe in the night air. Tomorrow would come with all its uncertainties, but tonight was an embrace of hopes, dreams, and the sweet promise of togetherness. As she glanced at the stars twinkling indifferently above, she took a deep breath. Tomorrow was just a single day away, but once the stories began to flow, would there be a way to turn back? The morning light crept through the curtains, casting soft patterns on the wall. Linda felt a jittery excitement flutter in her chest, tangled with a thread of anxiety. Today was the day. She tiptoed around the house, ensuring everything was ready for the gathering. Emma, still nestled in her blankets, blissfully unaware of her mother's internal turmoil. "Wake up, sleepyhead," Linda called softly, knowing the excitement of the day would soon sweep them both up. "We have a big adventure ahead." Emma rubbed her eyes, sitting up slowly. "Is it time already?" She yawned, her tiny voice filled with innocence. Linda smiled. "Almost. How about some pancakes to start?" The promise of breakfast seemed to ignite a spark in Emma, who hopped out of bed and rushed to join her mother in the kitchen. As they cooked together, laughter filled the air, momentarily pushing away Linda's worries. Each flap of the pancake batter made her lighthearted, and for a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to believe everything would go perfectly as planned. But as soon as breakfast was over, the anxiety seeped back in. Linda pulled her phone from her pocket and scrolled through the event's notification. 30 people had clicked going and another 15 had expressed interest. But the gnawing question in her mind was unavoidable. Would anyone really show up? Would they find the courage to share their stories? The clock ticked loudly on the wall, each second feeling like a weight pressing down on her. Linda took a deep breath. "Let us start setting things up in the park," she suggested, glancing at Emma, who bounced with enthusiasm. They arrived to find the park basking in sunlight, pretty much perfect, every bush and flower a splash of color against the vibrant green grass. Linda glanced at the open space, envisioning where everything would go, tables filled with snacks, a cozy, inviting circle for sitting and sharing. As they began to arrange everything, Linda felt a flood of warmth wash over her. This was happening. She looked at her daughter, who was adjusting the paper molasses and bending to reach for the extra picnic blanket. In those moments, she realized how far they had both come. "Mom, look!" Emma exclaimed, interrupting her thoughts. "That family over there looks sad. Do you think they need hugs?" She pointed to a couple sitting on a bench, heads down, shoulders slumped. Linda couldn't help but laugh softly, but then her heart filled with compassion. "They might. You never know what someone else is going through. You have a big heart, Emma." As more families began to stream into the park, Linda's heart raced. Each person who arrived was a reminder of why she had taken this leap. She watched as mothers traded stories, faces lighting up with recognition. A small circle began to form, the conversations lively and genuine, yet underpinned with shared struggles. Just then, an unexpected figure stepped forward. Sarah, the woman who had initially contacted her, stood hesitantly at the edge of the gathering, her eyes wide with uncertainty. A wave of courage surged within Linda, and she waved her over, heart pounding. "Sarah, I'm so glad you made it," Linda greeted, drawing the woman into the circle and embracing her. But the words Sarah whispered next sent a chill down Linda's spine. "I didn't think I'd have the courage to come." An unsteady silence hung between them, punctuated only by the murmurs of conversation around them. Linda's thoughts raced. What if everyone felt that way? "Look, you're here," she replied, feeling an inexplicable bond forming. "And I think that's brave enough for all of us." But how many more were hiding their feelings inside? Was this gathering truly safe space for everyone involved, or simply an invitation to vulnerability? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a flutter of anxiety returned to Linda. She glanced around the gathering, searching faces filled with worry and hope. Would sharing their hearts truly help them? Or would it open wounds that weren't quite ready to heal? With the air thick with both tension and excitement, she asked aloud, "What stories could we unfold today?" And just as she spoke, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and Linda's heart quickened as she sensed the weight of those unshared stories hovering in the air, waiting. But would the truth bring them together, or push them apart? Linda inhaled deeply. The scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers swirled around her, a contrast to the knot tightening in her stomach. As she looked around, The circle formed by the gathering felt both empowering and daunting. Would everyone find a way to open up, or would they shy away? The laughter of children playing nearby filled the otherwise quiet space, punctuating her thoughts. Emma tugged at Linda's shirt.
Can we start?
Please? Her daughter's enthusiasm nudged Linda into action. All right, let us gather around. She clapped her hands, attempting to draw attention. Slowly, the murmurs quieted and curious faces turned toward her. Thank you all for coming today. I know sharing can be tough, but this is a safe space. We're all here to listen and support one another. She leaned down to Emma, who looked up at her with wide eyes, full of trust. Do you want to be the one to start? Emma's face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. Can I tell them about my favorite toy? Linda exchanged smiles with the adults in the circle, their nods of encouragement easing her worry. Of course. Everyone loves to hear about your adventures with your toys. As Emma launched into her story about a brave dinosaur that faced all sorts of challenges, Linda felt the tension in her chest loosen. Emma's youthful spirit seemed to lift everyone, laughter bubbling from the group.
See?
Linda whispered to Sarah, now seated next to her. It's okay to be vulnerable. We all can share our stories, just like Emma. A small smile crept onto Sarah's lips. She's amazing. Encouraged by her daughter's effortless charm, Linda took a step further. I wanted to create this gathering because I believe we all have things to say. Things that matter. A murmur of agreement rippled through the gathering. Linda maintained her gaze on Sarah, who had started to fidget again, her eyes downcast. Tell us what brought you here, Sarah. I'd love to hear. Silence enveloped the group. The collective anticipation was palpable. Sarah bit her lip, hesitating, but Linda held her breath, willing her not to walk away. After a deep inhale, Sarah finally spoke. I lost my job last month, and I'm scared about what comes next. I thought maybe sharing would help. Linda's heart ached, but she nodded, encouraging others to join the circle of support. A gentle warmth spread, like sunshine touching cold ground. One by one, stories began pouring out: loss, hope, fear, dreams. A father spoke about navigating the world as a single parent, tears glistening in his eyes. A woman shared how battling an illness made her appreciate every moment. With every word, Linda felt the invisible walls dissolve. The vulnerability was no longer daunting, it was powerful. Laughter intertwined with tears as they connected on deeper levels, becoming a community stitched together by shared experiences. Emma, feeling the weight of her mother's emotions, grabbed Linda's hand.
It's okay, Mom.
They're all strong, she whispered, her simple little heart radiating love. But just as the atmosphere had shifted toward healing, a sudden gust of wind blew through the park, rustling leaves and sending scattered whispers through the gathering. Linda felt its chill, a reminder that warmth is often fleeting. Let us share one last story, she suggested, her pulse quickening with anticipation and dread. Who else is ready? And as the group looked at each other, a new wave of uncertainty filled the air. Would they find the strength to continue sharing? Or was this moment of connection just a temporary reprieve before they each returned to their battles? Her heartbeat echoed in her ears as she braced herself. What if this gathering could lead them to transformation? As Linda waited, she couldn't shake the feeling that tonight was only the beginning. What would unfold next? Linda scanned the circle as the anticipation grew thick in the air. Eyes darted between one another, emotions flickering like candle flames. She felt it too, the weight of unshared burdens, the desire for connection. Her pulse raced as she desperately searched for someone, anyone, to speak up next. Finally, a woman sitting to her left, clutching a scarf around her neck, took a deep breath. I can go, she said, her voice soft but resonant. My name's Karen. I've spent the last year battling depression, feeling suffocated in my own home. I thought isolation was the answer, but the truth is, it only deepened my pain. Linda's heart ached for her. It hit close to home, a frightening reminder that the mind can be its cruelest enemy. The rustling leaves seemed to lean in, inviting Karen to share more. I thought sharing would help, Karen continued, her gaze steady, yet vulnerable. But I was terrified. I thought I'd be judged. Instead, I see faces filled with understanding. I realize now that we all carry scars, and none of us are truly alone. A wave of nods swept through the circle, affirming her words. Linda felt a ripple of solidarity, a gentle pull encouraging others to step into the light of honesty. Then Jason, the father who had spoken earlier, cleared his throat. If I may, I want to tell you how this journey has changed me. After my wife left, I didn't think I could stand on my own. But my kids, they grounded me. I realized they needed me to be their rock, not just a broken man. His voice grew stronger, shrugging off the shackles of sorrow. I now find joy in the simplest things: a hug, a silly joke at dinner. It's the little victories that matter. Flashes of supportive smiles erupted from the group, feeding Jason's courage. It was a transformation that echoed in every shared experience. Renewed laughter bubbled up, blending seamlessly with the gathering's tears, proving the power of resilience was shared. Linda felt an unstoppable urge to add her voice, to show her own vulnerabilities. I have felt lost at times too. Struggling to balance work and home, I thought I was failing as a mother. But this community, it's reminding me that we all have moments of doubt. The instinct was to shield her heart, but fear began to ebb as she witnessed the strength born from admission. The connections intensified. Every story opened the floodgates of compassion. I want to keep this going, Emma piped in, eyes sparkling as they caught the light. Can we do this every week? I love hearing everyone's stories. The suggestion surged warmth through the group. They chuckled at Emma's innocent enthusiasm. They didn't just want to survive. They wanted to thrive, to support one another beyond this day, beyond this moment. And then, just as the embers of connection began to blaze, a commotion erupted from the playground nearby. Children yelled in laughter, but one voice cried out distinctly, strangled, fear-laced. Linda's stomach dropped. What was that? The laughter dwindled, heartbeats quickening at the sharp contrast of joy and alarm filling the air. Every adult's gaze shifted toward the playground, and the sense of unity faltered under the cloud of concern. Stay here, she whispered to Emma, who braved a nod. With tension crackling among the group, Linda felt the instinct to rush towards the chaos, not just a mother, but a leader in this moment. What would she find? Would the safety net they'd woven unravel in a heartbeat? The question hung heavily as she stood on the cusp of reaction, the world shifting dangerously beneath her. Who needed saving? And who would emerge stronger on the other side? Without hesitating, Linda bolted toward the playground, the voices of the group fading behind her as adrenaline surged through her veins. Each step felt heavy, pumping dread and determination alike. As she approached the chaotic scene, the laughter had morphed into a cacophony of cries and panic. Her heart raced louder than ever. And the playground. Children circled around something lying on the ground. The air buzzed with agitation. She pushed past the small crowd, her breath hitching as she saw a little boy, age maybe 7, sprawled on his back, tears streaming down his face. A sharp inhale caught in her throat. He looked scared and, worse, vulnerable. What happened? Linda gasped, kneeling beside the boy, her eyes darting around for assistance. A girl with pigtails, her cheeks flushed from worry, shifted from foot to foot.
He fell.
He tripped over the swings and hit his head. It looked bad. Linda gently touched the boy's shoulder, trying to quell his fear.
Hey there, buddy.
Can you hear me? His eyes darted to hers, filled with confusion. I'm right here. You're going to be okay. She spoke softly, her own panic subsiding into urgency. The boy nodded, though his eyes glistened with fear. It hurts. I know, she replied, squeezing his hand. Let us take a deep breath together. As they inhaled deeply, another parent came rushing forward, a small first aid kit in hand. What's going on? He fell and hit his head, Linda said, her voice steady now, reassuring both the boy and the stranger. Together, they worked quickly, cleaning the boy's scraped knees and checking for any signs of something serious. Relief washed over Linda when she saw the boy slowly calming down. His features softened as they spoke after a moment. A small smile peeked through his tears. Suddenly, the group from the circle caught up with her, faces etched with concern. "Are you okay? What can we do?" Emma's voice broke through, a sense of community flooding back as people formed a protective circle around them. "He just needs some comfort," Linda responded, glancing at the boy, who was now drawing strength from her presence. "We're all here. You're safe." As voices lowered, she suddenly felt connected to each stunning face surrounding her, united in a single mission. From the corners of her eye, she caught Jason helping other children disperse to safety, glancing towards her with an approving nod. It was the bond of a larger family, one forged not through fitness or frank talk, but through moments just like this, where vulnerability met compassion. Just then, the boy's mother sprinted towards them, panic written all over her face. Linda felt an instinctive shift in the atmosphere, so she jumped to her feet, feeling stronger than moments ago. "He's going to be okay," she said, her voice firm. "He fell, but we're here." The boy's mother caught her breath and sank beside her son, wrapping him in a tight embrace. Tears spilled from her own eyes, but this time they were tears of relief. "Thank you, I was so scared." Linda stepped back, her heart full. She had been so afraid of her own fears, yet here, under the burden of collective love and worry, she felt alive. But as the joy of resolution filled the air, she couldn't shake a feeling as if their shared moment of crisis had solidified not only her bonds with these strangers, but had also revealed something deeper within herself. Still, questions lingered. Would this spark the fire she needed? Would they anchor one another when the shadows crept in again? As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing them all in a golden hue, Linda caught Jason's eye, and for the first time, she saw not only his pain but the strength that pain had birthed. And suddenly, she understood together. They would weave their stories into a tapestry of survival, resilience, and hope. But even as they celebrated this moment of triumph, Linda felt a twisting knot of uncertainty. What other challenges lay ahead? The future felt as unpredictable as it did promising. What would be the next test for their newfound family? The sun shone brightly the next morning, casting golden rays over Willow Creek, illuminating the path ahead for Linda and the community she had brought together. The sounds of laughter and chatter echoed through the streets as neighbors greeted one another with kindness, and children ran excitedly in the park. The gathering of stories had ignited something beautiful, a movement born from vulnerability and connection. Linda stood at her kitchen window, sipping steaming coffee, a smile stretching across her face as she spotted Emma outside playing hopscotch with new friends. Her heart swelled with pride. They had ventured into uncharted territory together, and now they were thriving. Later that afternoon, the community center buzzed with energy as Linda organized a follow-up event, a storytelling workshop. She watched as people filed in, faces familiar yet renewed. There was Sarah, confidently chatting with another parent. Then came Jason, who waved at Linda with a contagious smile, his stories of triumph echoing through the town. "Isn't it wonderful?" Emma whispered to her mom as they shared a playful moment by the registrations table. "I can't believe how many people want to share their stories." Linda nodded, excitement bubbling up inside her.
It really is.
Each story we share binds us a little closer, a little stronger. As the workshop began, Linda introduced some structure to the gathering, outlining the process for sharing and listening. She encouraged participants to speak from their hearts. "This is a safe space," she reminded them gently, a promise she was determined to uphold. "We are here to bear witness to each other's truths." Each story unfolded like petals of a flower, raw, beautiful, and sometimes painful. There were tales of loss, rediscovered hope, and unyielding strength. An elderly man shared a story about his late wife, their love sprawling across decades like the roots of an ancient tree. A teenager spoke of his struggles with acceptance and finding his voice. With every revelation, a tapestry of interconnectedness grew more vibrant and colorful. Amidst the stories, Linda felt herself transforming. Every anecdote affirmed that pain could lead to healing, that community could mend broken hearts. A sense of belonging surged through her. She realized she was not only hearing stories but creating a legacy, a place for Emma and generations to come. Toward the end, Linda decided to share her own story, the journey of the doormat, the laughter and tears woven within its fabric. She spoke from her heart, reclaiming all the moments of doubt and despair she had faced, yet also highlighting the beauty she had found within the struggles. As she finished, tears glistened in her eyes, and the crowd erupted in applause. But more than that, empathy filled the room, with comforting hugs exchanged amongst new friends. They were all bound by these shared tales woven together, like the warm fabric of her beloved doormat. "Let us keep this going," Emma exclaimed, her voice bubbly with enthusiasm. "Can we do more workshops? Please?" The energy in the room soared as people shouted in agreement. Sounds of laughter and chatter filled the community center, a clear signal that they were committed to building something enduring. Linda felt her heart soar. This was the ripple of change. She had dreamed of a movement where no one would feel invisible, where their shared stories would carry them through the darkest valleys. As they started to plan the next events together, outdoor gatherings, book clubs where they shared their favorite stories, and even monthly potluck dinners, the town began to transform. The old, frayed doormat by Linda's door became a cherished artifact, a constant reminder of where the journey began. Every time she looked at it, she felt immense gratitude, knowing it had absorbed the weight of their struggles and now shone with shared laughter and love. It symbolized the resilience of a community brought together by honesty. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon casting hues of orange and pink, Linda stepped out onto her porch. She could hear Emma's delighted laughter mingling with the joyful shouts of their neighbors. Her heart swayed like branches in a gentle breeze, feeling light, yet profound. With every beat, she became more aware of the magic of connection, a rich tapestry of stories interwoven in Willow Creek. In that fleeting moment, she realized this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey filled with shared voices echoing together, and she forever had to continue weaving a warm space for those who felt invisible. This was the moment for everyone to rise together, to lift one another up. They had become a community, a family, their stories parallel threads that formed a complex and breathtaking tapestry of life. The memories would keep growing, and each mark would tell a story worth sharing. Remember, you need to subscribe now to not miss any extraordinary stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support, so hit that like button right now to fuel the algorithm with our amazing journey. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this heartwarming conclusion. And don't wait not even one more second to share this uplifting video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. Together, let's inspire and connect everyone.